Hello, and welcome to the August 2022 edition of Next Stop News. Here's what we'll be discussing in this month's installment. First off, a lot of R211 developments have occurred. On July 20th, the R211's poles were replaced, going from the plastic yellow poles to the stainless steel metallic loop stanchions, in order to allow for an easier and more effective disinfecting process. As of July 25th, both option orders of R211s have been funded in the 2020 to 2024 capital plan. Hooray! Meanwhile, the pilot set 4060 to 4069 is undergoing field modification, which basically means that the components are being upgraded as needed, in accordance with the modifications necessary for these cars to run properly in the system. Here's the updated contract. Credit to Parker for showing me this. It covers everything I said in part 2 of last month's update, confirming that the R211A pilot is expected to be finished with its testing in November. One half of the R211A pilot, 4065 to 4069, has been spotted on the C line several times from July 19th through early August, performing various tests such as thermal capacity testing, which is basically to examine how much heat the train needs to take in for a proper charge, as well as ride quality testing, which is pretty self-explanatory, testing how a commuter will feel while riding the train. It also did some more standard tests along the A line in mid-July. It did some vibration tests on the Q line on July 14th or before, and went up the 2nd Avenue line between July 26th and 27th, late at night, with the CHIPS bill being passed in Washington on July 28th, which allows a greater quantity of microchips to be created in the US. Kawasaki will have an easier time manufacturing the R211s, thanks to greater semiconductor availability projected in the future due to this. On July 25th, based off of the MTA's board materials, the routes slated for CBTC based off of the 2020 to 2024 capital plan have been modified, revised, and revealed to the public. Queens Boulevard CBTC will be completed, with everything east of Kew Gardens being re-signaled on the F line, allowing for your entire trip in Queens via the F to be sponsored by this software, thereby making it much faster in the process, hopefully. This was initially announced in December of 2021. 6th Avenue CBTC is now officially in the picture, which the locals are already ready for, but the expresses are not. This means that the B and D either have to get R211s from the first or second option, or they need to get displaced R160s from Jamaica, if and when Jamaica receives R211s themselves. That will push all of their remaining R68s to Coney Island to retire their R46s, meaning that Coney Island is not the priority for R211s. The only way they'll remotely get them is if there are leftover R211s left to give. Anyway, the CBTC network will be installed from 4750th Street's Rockefeller Center to Broadway Lafayette Streets, and on the F from 21st Street Queensbridge to J Street Metro Tech via 63rd Street. We will also be receiving Fulton Street CBTC from High Street to Euclid Avenue, which includes J Street Metro Tech, in order for the switch network to be fully equipped. This means that the C train will use CBTC for the entirety of its trip south of 59th Street. This also means that an F to Euclid Avenue can therefore continue to use CBTC for the majority of its trip. Based off of the map, it looks like the new signaling will extend as far as Lefferts Boulevard, which verifies what Brian Muhammad has been telling me during occasional streams, in regards to him seeing work being done in the area in relation to this. Crosstown CBTC will also become a thing, from Court Square to Hoyt-Schermerhorn Streets, which makes sense since the G is technically part of Queens Boulevard's operations in its own way, due to being based out of Jamaica Yard and interlining with the F on the Culver line. Plus, if the F needs to be rerouted via Crosstown, which happens more often than you'd expect, it can still continue to use CBTC for the duration of its trip. This confirms that 75-footers are a thing of the past on Crosstown now. Pain and suffering. Culver CBTC, a well-known project already, is already being worked on for the F line south of Church Street. According to the MTA, given the timing of this branch, they really need it. Astoria CBTC has been pushed to the back burner, which means that Coney Island will be keeping SMEs around for quite a while, particularly on the N and W, since a train to replace the R68s hasn't even been conceived yet, let alone given to a manufacturer by bid. Lexington CBTC has also been deferred, showing that the R262 order might not be coming in as soon as people expect it to. Though the base order will be funded by the 2020 to 24 capital plan, and both options in the next capital plan, the 262s don't even have a confirmed manufacturer yet. Therefore, it makes sense for the MTA to focus on other CBTC projects instead. Once again, shout out to Brian for coming in clutch with the info. It is highly appreciated. With this plan as a whole, we will witness the replacement of signals that range from 74 to 91 years in age, increasing reliability and creating a virtual network similar to the one currently seen on Queens Boulevard. This CBTC is not the same one being used on Canarsie, not by a long shot, as everything from Flushing CBTC onward uses Thales. With all these corridors announced to be receiving CBTC, the E, F, and G seem to be the closest mainline routes to becoming fully CBTC equipped. This will allow for route interchangeability during GOs, while making the IND fully new tech train equipped, while creating a new and continuous CBTC signal network by the end of the decade. Old tech trains will pretty much be confined to Broadway. This will likely include fan trips as well, which means that although many nostalgia trains are currently stored at 207th Street Yard, and although they can still run north of 59th Street, we might see them move to Coney Island a few years from now. Coney Island might get R160s again as well, in case the queue needs to go to 96th Street via 6th Avenue, which could be a very real possibility if delays were to occur on Broadway, and could speed up the mitigation of said delay much quicker by keeping service going. Credit to Brian, Orion 7s Forever, and Be Myself Photography for sharing the information and the CBTC map shown here. In my opinion, my only gripe with the plan is that it's not adding CBTC between 59th Street and 4750th Streets on the B and D, between Schermerhorn and Church Avenue on the F and G, and between 75th Avenue and Jamaica Center on the E. If you could signal 90 to 95% of the line, why not have the entire line be CBTC? A few more stations shouldn't hurt. The 7 line will undergo a 3-year station renovation project, suspending the 7 Express for 3 years, from 2023 to 2025. Oof, Flushing riders are about to catch some serious hell. Might as well take Queens Boulevard instead. 6 stations will be undergoing maintenance. Everything from 52nd Street to 111th Street, with the key exceptions of Woodside, 74th Street Broadway, and Junction Boulevard, as these are pivotal transfer points, will be getting construction. Both sides of all 6 slated stations will receive treatment, with platforms being installed from 33rd Street to 103rd Street, similar to how it was done in 1985, or similarly to how the Sea Beach line was repaired from 2016 to 2018. One side of the route will be addressed for about 11 months, then construction will shift to the other side of the line. I'm not sure if the Manhattan-bound or Queens-bound side will be addressed first. The express track will therefore become a temporary local track. This information can be accredited to the June 2022 Transportation Meeting, where the Queens Community Board discussed the Flushing Rehabilitation Project. Credit goes to Brian for bringing this information to my attention. In addition to this, Flushing Main Street is receiving new staircases, 4 of which are brand new and 4 of which will be renovated, in order to ease congestion and improve overcrowding. This was planned as far back as January of 2020, and work on this project already began in June. This project is slated to be finished in October of next year. This project cost the MTA a grand total of $61 million, with the expenses being the result of having to relocate utilities at the station in order to expand the stairway corridors. Personally, I would have used the funding for something else, but it is what it is. Now for the discussion of the rest of the MTA's fleet. As each month goes by, more and more R32s are sent off of MTA property. Here were some instances I wanted to cover in July's update, but couldn't due to time constraints. On June 26th, a pair of R32s was spotted in Orlando, Florida. Orlando of all places! Incredible! Pix 11 also covered 6 R32 cars, 4 of which were 3406 to 3407 and 3454 to 55, still signed up as J, headed from the New York and New Jersey rail yard to a recycling plant on June 15th. The R32s also returned to the eyes of transit fans for the first time since January 9th, with the following 4 consists in the pair making a surprise visit to the Rockaways on August 13th via the H-Line. No, not my H-Line. I also heard that the R109 made a visit to Queens Plaza. R68 and R68A Mixes are beginning to become more common as well. A more recent example being 2878 and 5020 on the N-Line between the weekend of July 30th to July 31st. Credit to Lewis Transit for the catch. R68 and R68A Mixes were also reported on the B line on July 27th and August 4th. But the R68s aren't the only ones getting mixed up. On July 24th, it was announced that the R143 and R160s have become partially interoperable, but it wouldn't be until August 2nd when we witnessed this in action. The first mix consist we ever saw was comprised of R143's 8209 to 8212 and R160's 8625 to 8628, which ran on August 2nd on the J line. This came mere days after I officially coupled an R30 to an R32 on my H. Why am I telling you this? I just spoiled the surprise. Now I'm going to get fired by the KTA. Technically, this wasn't the first time, however. It also happened on January 27th as a yard move. An 8-car R160 from the M line, 9955 to 9958 and 8473 to 8476, ran on the F line on July 29, 2022. This is very rare, as the R160s that Jamaica Yard uses can only be ran in either 1 or 2 pairs of 5-car sets to make a 5-car or a 10-car train. Credit to Pink Railfan for the photo, as well as the rare catch itself. Speed limits have been raised on the F and Q lines from 10 to 15 miles an hour. This affects the F line coming into Avenue X, as well as the Q line coming into Brighton Beach, both heading northbound. R160s on the N&W are beginning to become a bit more common, as Jamaica loans sets occasionally. On May 2nd, 2 R160B N trains were spotted. The W used 9587 on June 15th, the N also used an R160 on June 27th, and another R160 with the unit being known on July 13th, the unit which ran being 9858. It is good to see Jamaica coming in clutch for Coney, to see these lines occasionally using tech trains as well. Regarding the N to Forest Hills in 2023, allow me to make some corrections to my previous dialogue. It'll be an alternating cycle and will only occur on weekends, so basically every other weekend. The N will use R160s to traverse deeper into Queens. A shuttle will run from Queensboro Plaza to Astoria Ditmars while this occurs. The main reason for this occurrence will be to install 3 new elevators in the station, making it more accessible, along with other improvements which I will address next month. From July 16th to August 14th, a GO occurred where the Q ran via 4th Avenue and C Beach non-stop from 59th Street to Coney Island, and via West End Express to Manhattan, with Manhattan-bound trains being routed via the Montague Tunnel. While this occurred, a yellow shuttle ran instead of the Q from Coney Island to Prospect Park, while a shuttle bus took you the rest of the way to Atlantic Avenue Barclays Center. Credit to True LaGuardia Fulmer for sharing the GO on my server. This happened likely due to the fact that the MTA was doing track repairs between DeKalb Avenue and Prospect Park on the Brighton line. On July 1st, it was announced that 149th Street Grand Concourse will be renamed to 149th Street Hostos Community College, according to New York State Senate Bill S8294A. As of July 25th, the MTA is projected to head over a fiscal cliff, as the country is in an unofficial recession. This is due to ridership not rebounding as quickly as once expected, as well as the MTA's deficits, as fares will rake in $4 billion less than expected by 2025. Therefore, as this is the case, the agency is only able to use fares to cover 32% of their operating costs. The agency was allotted $15 billion in COVID relief funds, which was once expected to last through 2025, but we now know that they are unable to stretch their funds this far. This could possibly result in fare hikes and service cuts. The MTA is only at 60% of their pre-pandemic ridership, when they expected it to be at 77% as of now. But various occurrences such as crime and pandemics rising again could have affected this. The agency may attempt to fix this problem with congestion pricing next year. As you may have heard, this year will mark the first of many for student OMNY cards, as they will be released to students in September. A green OMNY card will look fire, not gonna hold you, and will make a fine addition to the MTA's collection. I know this happened a while ago, but I really enjoy that adwrap that they put on the R179 on the A, that being on 3307 and 3045. It looks really cool, I must say that. I really enjoy it. I first saw it on July 10th on the same day that I went to catch the Nostalgia train, which was running via the A line. To make up for the J train's closure, the Long Island Railroad is allowing people to travel free through Queens, basically a cross-honoring system. All you have to do is show your Metro card to the Long Island Railroad conductor and let them know what your destination is, and if it's in relation to the J's partial closure, your commute will be free. As of July 27th, Long Island Railroad has officially ended their campaign to create battery electric multiple unit cars to run on diesel branches, aka retrofitting their existing M7s to become BEMUs. Pain and suffering. We could have had M7s on Oyster Bay, but I guess not. Guess it was just too complicated to do so, and since the M7s are already 20, it wasn't worth the risk. It was deemed unfeasible to fully electrify the M7s. If it wasn't, however, this could have made the M7 fleet virtually omnipresent along all Long Island Railroad corridors. Initially, Long Island Railroad had planned the project in April to begin as a test with 2 M7s on the Oyster Bay branch, which cost them $850,000. They undertook this project due to the fact that roughly half of the trackage on Long Island Railroad is not equipped to handle EMUs, but ran into a brick wall when they realized that electrification would cost the MTA $18 million per mile. This is an issue which must be addressed if the Long Island Railroad wishes to have system-wide electrification in order to become carbon neutral. To do so, they must eliminate diesel-powered trains in their fleet by 2050, as their intended goal is as part of the 20-year needs assessment. For more information concerning this, check out one of the articles in the main comment below. On August 1st, the Long Island Railroad Bud M3s made a stunning return to service, which shocked the crap out of me due to the fact that my intel had told me this wouldn't occur for another 5 months. Due to the fact that on July 17th, it was confirmed by various news articles that the M3s would be making a return as a fleet by the end of the year, when the East Side Access project opens, in order to provide extra service to Penn Station and Atlantic Terminal, while freeing up the M7s and M9s to serve Grand Central Madison. No, we will not be seeing M3s go to Grand Central Madison. That's why the M7s and M9s had to be freed up. I like how after I say something in an update, it is confirmed to be an actuality later on. I basically predicted the M3s coming back in July Part 2's update. Anyways, this is excellent news for rail fans who have craved the opportunity to ride these cars since August of 2020. For regular commuters, however, you will sadly have to cope until the M9 order is complete. It is said that 100 cars will be restored to the rails, or 2/3 of their original capacity. Although their MBDF is 343,000 miles lower than that of the M7s, they are expected to be an integral part of the fleet for the foreseeable future, and will be in service for about another year or so. 2023 will definitely be their year. This was a long time in the making. Throughout 2022, they have been undergoing various tests and inspections, which is why you have been seeing random M3 consists roaming around. The engineers had to essentially retrain on them, as it has been a long time since they've operated said cars. From August 1st onward, it's mostly been one M3 making daily testing and in-service runs. As of August 8th, a few sets are in service from Hillside and Westside yards. At this point, it's fair to say that the M3s are essentially the R32s of the railroad, and I'm very excited to see them make a full comeback in December. Credit to Zach Transit for sharing one of the articles with me concerning their return. It was also announced that the M9A cars, which currently have no slated manufacturer, have been delayed until 2027, meaning we still have a good while to enjoy Metro North's iconic M3A railcars. Last but not least, Penn Station is receiving a ceiling improvement, which will raise it to a height of 18 feet, in addition to an expanded corridor to improve commuters' ability to traverse the station. This construction work will be finished by the spring of 2023. Thank you for tuning in to August's edition of Next Stop News. We have a lot of great stuff planned for you guys, and I'm sorry about the lull in news. Once again, as I've said before, I was sick through most of July, so I did plan to release this in July, but sadly, complications occurred. Hopefully we will be back on track and delivering you guys some awesome content. Please subscribe, stay blessed, stay healthy, stay hyped, and thank you for riding with Next Stop News. And I'll see you guys next time. Whoa, those XT fans were loud as hell. I love it. 12:58.